How's everyone's Halloween going? I'm bored. My wife went to bed. It's 11:30. Figured I'd just come in here and sit here, I guess, and maybe get someone to come in here and chat if you want. I don't know. Here's a streaming link. I haven't got really anything new and interesting to bring you. Like I said, it's Halloween. And are you dressed up? Do you have on some stupid outfit or costume? Want to come show off? Got a scary story you want to talk about? Something more bizarre than gang stalking, or a bizarre gang stalking story, or a ghost story, or alien story, Bigfoot, whatever. We have this light here. It's like a touch light. It's a touch light, and a lot of times in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and the light comes back on. It's just like it's got a mind of its own, and I thought it was isolated, but the other night, just before my wife was coming to bed, I was laying there, and the light above the bed came on all by itself, and like the second her knee touched the bed, it went off. And I was thinking to myself already, why did that light come on? I don't remember her coming in and turning it on, and it turned off all by herself. So she checked it, she switched it on and off. But we got some ghost lights in here, like somebody ghosts turning on the lights and shit or something. And that's what my wife calls it. She calls it our ghost light. But anyway, as far as like the stalking shit goes, I went to a doctor's appointment today, and I guess she wants me to go get an EKG, since I've been having some chest pains. And I got to talking to her about the harassment that happened, and because they give you questions about how are you depressed or whatever, or something, in your life causing you problems, blah, blah, to make you stressed or whatever. And I mentioned to her about all the research I was doing on BCI and AI, and this is the first person I've ever talked to that, might be able to have some interest, a doctor, about the stalking. And she said, yeah, I had just been reading about AI and the horrors of AI, and then I said, well, I could give you some more information. I know some more things that maybe you haven't and may be made aware of. And she said, I don't really want to hear it. To be honest, because it scares the shit out of me. She didn't say scares the shit out of me, but she said it scares me. It's pretty scary stuff. And so, this is a doctor I'm talking to, and I told her about the voices and that you get with the V2K, the street harassment and the cyber harassment and all that stuff. And she's like the first person that that isn't really affected by the stalking, that actually didn't look at me like, what the fuck you're talking about. And she said that well, I can recommend that you go see somebody about it. I said, well, I have seen people that know. And she said, no, I mean someone about the stress and dealing with the harassment, and maybe helping you deal with being able to cope. And basically the first person that I've ever heard that isn't like a perp saying, oh, you're when you tell them about it, oh, you're fucking crazy, you need help. But and they know exactly what the fuck you're talking about, but they go on this pretense like it's something wrong with you. Well, she didn't give me that indication even a little bit. And and so I just, I was like, no, I'm not really interested in seeing anybody like that. She says, well, I just, just keep that in mind. I mean, dealing with the stress of being harassed and stalked, it creates more stress on you. And that was when she started mentioning that, well, have you been having any chest pain? And I said some. She says, well, I want you to get an EKG done and maybe check it out, because to deal with you and your COPD already, I'd like to just have you have your your chest looked at. And I mentioned to her something about, do you have any um, anybody that might be able to do like a brain scan, because I've been sleeping a hell of a lot. And 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 she mentioned something about what do you mean in that respect. And I said, well, I've seen that from the BCI and the AI that they might have caused a concussion. And she says that kind of makes sense, since they are, and she said it herself, since they're trying to mess with your brain. And I mentioned something about the CIA agent that to that it had issues. and that them looking at him, um, mentioned it being like the same effect as a concussion. And that was when she said that makes sense if they are affecting the blood flow and causing stress on your brain. Um, and you're mentioning that you're sleeping 12 to 15 hours a day and you just can't stay awake. Um, and she gave me a whole list of places that I could go get like an MRI done or whatever, and um, things like that. So that uh, as far as the complex issue of what might be, the damage that these stalkers are doing to targets, the physical damage, like to your respiratory system or your brain. Um, but she said, yeah, I'd just been not here long ago. I had been reading that about AI and that some things that were emailed to me about it and the dangers of it. So I don't know about your doctor or your physician, but maybe with all that's going on with Biden um, signing an executive order and the FBI looking into AI and the dangers and the privacy and all this intellectual issues and the dangers, the bad stuff that coincide with AI and these sick people with what they're doing with them. Maybe they're finally starting to look at it an issue, not with the individual, but with the technology and what it's doing to us. So, as far as what might be with you, that kind of just leads me to believe that the stigma about people being targeted isn't just being written off as paranoia or schizophrenia. So when a medical doctor is telling you that, yeah, I'm aware of the issues, and maybe this will help or maybe that will help, and actually saying, maybe you could see a therapist for the stress relation and the anxiety of being harassed and stalked. And she put it to me just like that. She didn't say that, did not make any indication like, oh, it's something wrong with you. But like as in regular stalking or any other uh, stress causing issue, therapy can help and being able to cope with it. And, I personally I think I'm pretty level headed and I don't really want to pursue that. But um, if it's really, causing you issues like with work or you just, and can't just cope. I mean, it, anxiety and stress are a killer all by themselves. And when these people are exacerbating it with the V2K and just just the just the stress of being accosted on the street by people, and the death threats and the harassment and the threatening your family and whatever. um, it's understandable that that could make life difficult, and some people aren't able to cope with that. That in regard to your mental health, not to say that you're crazy or you're just bonkers or anything like that, but um, when you have just a I just want to call it normal, normal stalker, um, it can cause heavy stress on a person. And then when you combine that with the overall bizarre factor of being gang stalked, and along with the fact that in general most people don't believe any of the things you're telling them about the brain computer interface and the dream manipulation and all that. And she did not bat an eye, um, which leads me to believe that they know what's going on now, and maybe they're willing to not just turn a blind eye to you and just ignore your plight. So, like I say, you don't have to consider it an issue if you don't want. But and like I said, I'm pretty level-headed, and I'm pretty strong in that respect as far as knowing what kind of a person I am, and you know, um, being able to cope with stressful situations. But some people may not be able to. Um, Creating an an immense hardship on your well-being. But that was just something interesting, and it seems like that maybe we're not um, as shit out of luck as the gang stalkers would like, you know, for people to believe. And um, that maybe we can get some help, and maybe people are starting to wake up to the fact that this shit is really happening. And um, and that was just the indication I got from the doctor, that they're becoming aware of what you fucking gang stalkers are doing to us, and they're not um, victim blaming like most of you fucking perps on YouTube saying, "Oh, nobody will be stalking you," and this and that and the other shit, and you're not important. Well, that's not the truth. The truth is you are important, and they are stalking you for a reason. And whatever that reason is, I can't put my thumb on it. Of course. I mean, I don't know, but they do have a reason. It's not just you know people are gang stalking you because they have nothing better to do. Um, their intention is to cause you harm for, like I've said before, whatever whatever event in your life that caused them to start uh, coordinating the organized stalking against you is, there's a reason behind it. And even though you might not know what it is, they absolutely know what it is and why they're doing it. But they're not going to tell you. And pretty much everything else they do is misdirection and lies in the first place. So that's why you have all these perps on YouTube that will try to demean you for talking about being stalked, and and calling out the gang stalker perps. And these companies like Nefarious and Revenge Inc., Revenge for Hire, that send these people out after you, and that use brain computer interface technology and AI to impersonate, deep fake, or 3D manipulation, all the tools, the V2K, all the science fiction type scenarios behind it. Well, feel safe in the knowledge that the world is waking up to what they're doing. I mean, when the President of the United States signs an executive order about AI being used to impersonate him and other people, just like I've mentioned and many other people have mentioned, or the other things that they can do with it, then gang stalkers, you're in trouble. You understand that. I hope you gang stalkers understand that you're not invincible anymore, and that people are not ignoring the bullshit you're doing to us. So you might want to wake up. The FBI is aware of your shit. If the president's aware of it, your game is over, or pretty close to it. So you gotta understand that. If you don't understand that, you're stupider than I first originally thought. And when it doesn't really take a genius to click some buttons with with AI and make it do things. You're not these super geniuses or whatever you think you are. You're just regular fucking people that are doing horrible things. And you've just got some toys that people don't or haven't been aware of. Well, now people are aware of it because of people like me that have been talking about it and doing research and not being silent and just letting you get away with it. I mean, I've mentioned several times about the impersonation and the theft of intellectual property and the other aspects that these gang stalkers use to profit from your suffering. Well, the horrors of AI and BCI are being spoken of now, not just by targeted individuals, but by Congress, by the president, by the FBI, by other organizations that can do something about you. So you better wake the fuck up, because your reign of terror is not is not going unnoticed. But anyway, that being said, I know a lot of targeted individuals that I'm not going to mention their names that, you know, have a sense of hopelessness attached to being gang stalked. Several. And I don't sit here and complain about the physical effects of what they do and the stress it causes and whatever, but there are a lot of targeted individuals that do. And the main reason I don't sit here and I'm not going to say whine or complain. I'm going to say voice what's happening to me so much other than the V2K and the dream manipulation harassment. I'm not going to talk about how they've rotted my teeth out, you know, and shit like that, and then just sit there and complain about, you know, the headaches and this and that every day, or what they're doing to your eyeballs, or what they're doing to your chest, or your feet, the pain they're causing you, or the harassment, because that's what they want. They get a kick out of that. They enjoy hearing your suffering. They enjoy watching you cry and show pain, because these people are not empathetic. They have no, they're just, they like to see your torture. They get a kick out of it. So I don't like to give them that satisfaction. Not because I'm stronger than you or different than you, but just because I understand that. I mean, I understand that they get their jollies out of causing you pain, but I'm not one of the ones that's going to give them that satisfaction. You shouldn't either, but everyone has to deal with this in their own way. You have to take it as it comes and process that information however is best for you. I myself, I don't like watching other targets, you know, in pain and dealing with the torture that these scumbags do. Hi, how are you tonight? You enjoying your Halloween over there in Guam, Captain Tom? I have another friend that I used to play video games with. I used to play Mech Warrior with, that lives in Guam. He is a scuba diver over there. You might know him. I don't know. I know Guam is not a very large island, but he's a scuba instructor over there. I am in Bellflower, California, sir. Or ma'am. I'm pretty sure you're a sir. Ow. Oh, so you've already had your Halloween then. Um, What exactly do you mean by name? What do you mean with that? When you type name and question mark, what are you after? If you're asking my name, you already know it. Oh, I'm not at liberty to say his name. I, I, I will tell you, he's a white guy. How about that? And he's lived there for quite a long time. But like I said, I'm not gonna go into what his name is. Just that he is a scuba diver, a scuba instructor. But yeah, he's told me many times, you ever show up in Guam, I'll give you some free scuba lessons. But like, I'm sure it's not a very big island, so you might know him. I don't know. I mean, it's only what, 8 square miles or something like that. Well, then you probably know who he is. Well, he would know me as Equalize if you are so inclined to inquire with any of them.
You got a hot one?
I'm sorry, I'm getting too hot. Sorry. I'll turn it up. I got the heater up too high. My wife, I must have woke her up with the heat. I just lit the last cigarette, so I was getting ready to get up and get some. But if you want to grab some, you can. And there's a brand new soda if you want to drink. I'm just doing a little Halloween stream, so I was kind of bored. I can't find a goddamn thing to watch on television or on YouTube. Excuse me. Yeah, it's only like 7 miles wide, so yeah. It's not like there's there's a lot of surface area that he might even live within a quarter mile of you. I don't know, but that's pretty cool that you take scuba divers to dive sites. Wow, thanks. You didn't have to throw them at me.
I dropped them.
Oh.
What the hell? I'm even in the bed. I didn't tell me what to do.
Sorry. There's soda there. Well, as far as you say, YT is turning to crap. I've noticed there's a lot of issues with like as far as recommendations, um, you know, for things you might be interested in. And I and my wife both have noticed that if even if your computer's off and you're talking about something like a water heater, you know, or just mundane shit, I'll turn YouTube on and
Why is your computer off?
huh? When it's anyway, I'll turn YouTube on, and you know there'll be like 3 or 4 fucking thumbnails that have to do with some shit that I was talking about or we were talking about, and you know I wasn't even online, and there'll be, you know, because when we were trying to buy a water heater, right? We were going to buy a new water heater, and we were just talking about it. And I turned the fucking computer on, and there's,
Thank God this shit all over our feeds again.
huh?
You said it like 6 times now.
She said, now we're going to have water heaters all over our fucking feeds again because we're talking about water heaters. but it was like, it lends credence to the knowledge that even when this piece of shit phone is turned off, someone's fucking listening to you. Google or whatever is, you know, is well aware of what you're doing and talking about. So it makes me really understand that if let's say these gang stalkers, you know, they have to speak to each other somehow, or you know, or collaborate or communicate, that somebody hears them and somebody knows what the fuck they're doing. They can their privacy in 2020 or 18 ahead, it's gone. You if you know if you're psycho killers, and you know, and you're you're conspiring to do something heinous, somebody's fucking listening to it, you know. They're gonna hear it. And you apparently agree because you said, "Yep, it's exactly what it is." There's no there's no private conversations anymore. And if you're being gang stalked and they're using BCI AI on you, your thoughts aren't your own anymore. Your privacy is gone. So um, the reality that they're able to get away with this means that um, that uh, for the most part they were taking a blind eye to it. But now that, you know, like I said, the president of the United States just signed that executive order about the, you know, the AI and impersonation and the privacy and the deep fakes and all this crap that these people are doing is not just, you know, is not being ignored. So
The speech was funny.
yeah, his speech was funny when he said,
When did
I
I say that?
say that?" Yeah. Uh-huh. So the premise that you know these gang stalkers seem to be trying to live under, that, you know, they can do no fucking wrong, you know, and nobody cares. They they got rude awakening coming, because uh but anyway, uh yeah, um when you when you got people like this guy that claims that he seems to know so much about this and that, but he's got his head up his ass when it comes to AI and BCI. He's not as fucking smart as he thinks he is. But he's a perp, so you know he's gonna maintain that misinformation and demean targets like he does, because that's all he's about. But anyway, but you say follow a channel in the UK, and my comments are routinely removed by England censorship. Yeah. Oh, they got my number. Yeah, they have all our numbers. I just got this from the doctor today, a new inhaler, albuterol inhaler for my COPD. But like I was saying, as far as the health effects that these stalkers are causing people. You know, like if you ever want, like you're speaking about England, I'm going to bring up Monty Python because it makes me think of a skit of theirs about the Spanish Inquisition and how their chief weapons are surprise, blah blah blah. You know, it makes me think about the chief weapons of gang stalkers, and one of their chief weapons is disinformation. Another one of their weapons is fear. They like to cause fear and stress, and those are some of their chief weapons. They overall unregulated nature of AI, I think, is mainly what the president is voicing about. But I'm sure they're aware of the other things as far as the intellectual properties is really important to them, because the theft of the intellectual property and the ideas that they're so readily available to these people with the BCI reading people's thoughts. And so basically, if you do have some, you know, life shattering or life changing idea, they're going to steal it. But pretty much before you get a chance to implement it. I know that because they've done it to me with music and other ideas. Even things that I've drawn as far as inventions, because I do try to. I have some ideas that I've created, and being an artist, I draw them, or a representation of my idea, and somehow all of a sudden it's on the market. Like several years ago, being as I went to college for computer science, I was designing a photon oriented motherboard and processing unit uh, that wouldn't have a hard drive, or and it wouldn't have any need for random access memory, because there's a continuous line of fiber optic information, which basically the hard drive would be the cloud. All the information would be stored on the cloud, and you would just access it through your fiber optic interface on your motherboard. So you wouldn't really need a storage device on your computer, because the cloud would be the storage device. And I drew diagrams and I drew pictures of it. And not long after that, there was talk of light-based computing, or photon-based computing, I should say. But there isn't a lot I can do about that. But like I said, they've stolen my music. In like 2000, they stole a song from me. But there's other songs and stuff, things that I've created, that comic book idea, just things that they've been able to acquire directly out of my head with the brain computer interface and the mind reading technology that they use. There's also another device I drew and created, and I've done my best not to ever think about the workings of it. But I'm sure it'll come out in the wash. But I'm trying my best not to bring it forward in my mind for them to acquire the overall workings of it. But anyway, as far as how some of us targets are perceived by certain individuals, one in this chat in particular, that we're all some kind of simpleton. Well, that's not the case. But when you have people that already have an opinion of a group of people, it doesn't matter how far you go, their impression isn't going to be swayed, no matter how much information or proof you divulge. I've been sitting here talking about brain computer interface technology and AI, and the ability to read people's thoughts, and the voice to skull, and the workings of it, and proving it. And the world is bearing out all that I've said on this channel regarding gang stalking, AI, and BCIs. For the longest time, it was pretty much underwhelming for them. But now that the news talks about it, and the godfather of AI quit Google because of it, so he could talk about it. I feel a little bit justified in all of my research and my understanding of the subject. I've read every fucking kind of paper I could get my hands on, and even contacted engineers that have to do with several companies that are making BCIs, and for the most part, they generally don't reply with much of an answer, but they do appreciate your interest. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. But the general consensus now is that there need to be, like I recommended to one of the engineers at OpenBCI about their product, that there should be some sort of protocols that disseminate information regarding to the consent factor of the individual that's being inflicted with the mind reading and the BCI. They did reply to me. They said they appreciated my input, but not long after that came the FBI's interest in AI and espionage and intellectual property, and the uses of it with impersonation regarding your voice, your digital imprint, and your data. But yeah, as it goes to say, the more you prove, the more questions it gives, the more answers you have to have. So I was generally every week doing a live and presenting my research and the information that I've gleaned from my research and knowing what I know. Finally, people are catching up. Now, I'm not saying it's due to my research or due to any of my influence or my communications with said colleges, startup groups for BCI, or research facilities, and I have contacted people, but I wouldn't totally write off that maybe I have had a little bit of a handle on that. But as I have said before, I'm not here seeking rewards. I'm not here seeking money. I'm not here seeking fame or recognition. I'm seeking the end of gang stalking. And the first thing, in my opinion, my meager opinion, is there needs to be protocols in all of this hardware and the software along with it to safeguard against it being used against us like it has without our consent. Simple thing to do, to write a line of code that says, does this fucking asshole want you to do this to them? Yes or no? And if, you know, if they can't do that, then there's something innately wrong with the hardware or the software. Since, like I've said, and everybody else knows this, computers do not do anything without being programmed. They don't do anything on their own without being automated or told to do so. It's not like AI thinks for itself. It has to be taught, and you have to know that. Now, maybe after a certain amount of machine learning, of the AI learning, it will represent a semblance of imagination. It doesn't imagine. Even though it might be programmed to simulate an imagination or a thought of its own, it's still a program. It's not sentient. They will never be sentient. They will always have to be programmed, and they will always have to be told what ones and zeros to put together. Well, I see that Nerve is on again, talking about all this shit, saying, I admit on video that he invented a cloud storage PC with no local storage. And what's your point? That I want the government to have the power to have control of your data? That is not what I said. I mean, the diagrams and the picture I drew and the ideas I drew are not an admission of any of that. I don't think that Tesla, when he invented the wireless electricity, the Tesla emitters, that he intended for the government to take control of it. That's just ludicrous. Anyway, I'm not saying you couldn't have an external hard drive and store data on that hard drive. My idea was that with using the data that's already readily available on the internet, which is an accumulation of all knowledge that we have to date. You would not have to store applications. You wouldn't have to store files if you did not desire to on your computer. You wouldn't have to have a 10 terabit hard drive if you didn't so desire. All that information is already readily available on the internet. You wouldn't have to download 400 apps on your computer to perform one function. The apps are already there. It would just do it that way. But anyway, they've already got that idea. They're already working on that idea. So that's an idea. Whether I create it or not is not the point. The point is it's already there now. So it's not something I'm going to keep pursuing because it's already being developed. That's kind of pointless. And that's not true. You are in control of it. You'd be in control of the device that you're accessing it from. Because the information is already out there on the internet. It's not yours to begin with. But anyway. I can sit here and debate you about it all day, but I'm always going to be wrong because that's your opinion all the time. That no matter what I'm telling you, it's wrong, even though it's not. But no, sorry, I'm not going to play guitar tonight. I'm not in the mood for guitar playing right now. I was kind of hoping somebody'd come on here with a horror story or something, or actually, something more interesting than the bullshit I'm talking about right now. Because I've been talking about this for 5 years now. I'm kind of tired of just talking about this shit. I understand you prefer to download everything that you like that gratification of having a copy in your hand, in your possession, so you can use it at your beck and call. But all I'm saying is that information being on the cloud or wherever the whatever server on the internet, you don't have to store it, but you could still have access to it at your leisure. And it would be safer for the application and for your device because you're not downloading any information. You're not downloading viruses. That are piggybacked to that download. You're getting the information you requested and not third party programs. Like when you used to go to CNET and download a program, you'd have to click off of, oh no, I don't want this ad-aware shit. I don't want this other crap that you're trying to piggyback. You'd have to tell it not to give it to you. And they would be able to control that, and you wouldn't have any third party interjecting in the process of using whatever software you wanted to use. You use that software and that's all you're using. Now, I'm not saying that would eliminate viruses or worms or Trojans, but they're not going to be downloaded direct to your computer with, on the back of of a recipe program that you downloaded, or a video game or whatnot. And since it is not stored on your device, it wouldn't be able to replicate on your device. And if you know as much about computers as you say you do, you know I'm telling you the truth. Oh yeah, well, I don't use Linux, but it is a superior operating system. Unix, Linux is a superior operating system. I know that. I just I don't desire to download emulators to do everything I want to do, since everything's 98% Windows oriented, and I just don't want to. I don't want to mess with Kali. I don't want to mess with all that shit, and just don't do it. Yeah, that is essentially what I'm saying. It's like a repository of just the software you want and not the shit you don't.
Well, you remember what that one developer said.
What's that?
There's no such thing as a free ride.
Right. Well, it was CNET. Those were their third-party partners, and that's where they make their money, from advertising and third-party partners. I don't follow your videos, and the only reason I don't, not because I think you're an idiot, but because I think that you tend to demean too many people with your videos, and I think that's your objective. Prove me wrong. Stop demeaning people, and maybe I'll come and look at your videos. Just because you don't think someone's opinion identifies with yours doesn't make that person an idiot. And just because someone doesn't know as much about computers as you doesn't make them an idiot. That seems arrogant and obnoxious to me. And if I'm nothing else, I'm honest with you. I'm honest that sometimes I don't like your opinion, but I'll listen to it. Did you? What'd you do about CNET? Well, see, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand how you can say you don't appreciate arrogance when you're pretty much arrogant yourself. Just being honest with you, you know. That's kind of a pet peeve with me. I like to be honest. Ooh, well, come up here and tell me, Tom. Here, come on up here. Come and share this horror story. That's what Halloween's about. Here's the StreamYard link. Come in and scare us, or overwhelm us with your story. There's the StreamYard link. I'd be happy to hear from you. Stand by. Ground control to Major. Oh, Captain Tom. Check ignition and put your helmet on. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door. And I'm floating in the most peculiar way. And the stars look very different today. Ground control to Major Tom, your circuit's dead. There's something wrong. Can you hear me, Major Tom? Yeah, come on in here then. Tell us your story, Captain Tom. Though I've passed 100,000 miles, I'm feeling very still. And I think my spaceship knows which way to go. Tell my wife I love her very much. She knows. So are you coming in or not? Am I going to have to keep singing? Here am I floating in my tin cans, far above the world. Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do. Right. Captain Tom. Welcome, Captain Tom.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. I hear you, Captain Tom. Is your
All right. No echo, no nothing. You'll hear cats meowing in the background. But anyways, yeah, I can tell you my story. Let me see.
Right on.
All right.
Fantastic.
This was back in '88 before I was a captain. And I was in Hawaii. See, this is going to be a good story. You were wanting something. It's not a horror story, but it's pretty good. I like it.
Well, stories are good.
This boat was in a dry dock called Stella Noose. It's a play off of the words for amuse and everything. But I was known as the mayor of Kihi Lagoon in Hawaii because I would greet everybody and everybody knew me. And this guy, Lloyd Larson, had bought this boat looking for exactly this boat. It was an Alden yawl, 39 feet. And he hired this guy, Schmidt, Jerry Schmidt, to deliver it for him. And I was convinced that he knew what he was doing, but it turned out that I knew more about it than he did, as we were 2,000 miles off course. Okay. When we left Hawaii, everybody was telling me, don't leave without an EPIRB. And
what was that? What?
An EPIRB, EPIRB, Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon. It's a little box that has an antenna.
I got you. Kind of like a black box.
Emergency. Yeah, about the same thing.
Yeah.
With a homing device on it.
Right.
And so this was an old unit, and the battery was past due, but it still worked and everything. So we took it, and before we left, the so-called skipper told me to drain the water tanks because he wanted to flush them out. And I said, okay, you want me to put the hoses back on? He said, no, I'll take care of it. Well, he forgot to tighten the hoses. So when we were about 400 miles off Hawaii, we ran out of water. And I said, Jerry, where's the spare water that you brought? And he brought out 4 liters of empty Coke liters full of distilled water.
So now you're 400 miles out in the ocean without any drinking water.
Yeah, and you can't.
Wonderful.
I mean, what you have to do, you have to go north until you get into the Roaring Forties. I didn't know that at the time, but I do now because I've been a captain since the early '90s. And what we did was, he didn't know how to navigate, but he said he did. He figured he'd just go east until he hit the coast. Well, there's a great big high pressure between California and Hawaii. It's known as a garbage patch, where there's no wind. And we're on a sailboat. You need wind to move a sailboat, you know? And so we drifted around out in this garbage patch for 57 days. And in the process, we got blowing 2,000 miles south of our destination, which was Southern California. But you have to go in at Northern California on the Roaring Forties and then take the coastal breezes down to where we were going, which was below Newport in Southern California. But we wound up drifting for all those days in this garbage patch going south. We were headed for South America.
And no fucking water, right?
Well, I devised a still out of parts that I grabbed off of the boat and stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So we had
some water.
We had a nice propane tank that was full, and so I was able to make enough water to keep us alive. It tasted like crap because the hoses were black and it was hot steam going through them, and they got a hose taste on it.
But it wasn't salty.
It kept us alive.
Yeah.
And Jerry, I think he was drinking salt water.
No, he
started going crazy. He started going crazy. And about the time that I realized I couldn't go to sleep anymore was the time I caught him hiding what was left of the stores underneath his pillow. There's beans and rice and honey underneath his pillow. And I said, Jerry, what's this? And he goes, oh, I need it because I'm in charge here. I was like, oh my God, what kind of a crazy guy am I with? And then
if you fuckers die, I'm going to live.
Yeah. And then it was a couple of days later that I realized he couldn't swim when I was asleep down below, and I hear this splash, and I come up through the forward hatch looking for him, and I see this arm going down over the side of the boat. I grabbed it, and I pulled him up on the deck, and I said, Jerry, can't you swim? He goes, no, I don't know how to swim. I go, why didn't you tell me? Anyways, it was towards the end of the 57 days that we set off the EPIRB on my insistence. And we got, it was 2 days later that we had this low flying, like smuggler jet, a 4-engine, like similar to a 747, but it was much smaller and had a blue flashing light on the top of it, and they come by and they're circling overhead. I mean, it looked like the plane was ready to fall out of the sky. That's how slow it was going. And they opened the door. And it was at this time that I found out the radio that Jerry brought didn't work because I couldn't get through to them on the radio. Jerry was useless at this time. He was just like pretty much crazy. I'm pretty sure he was drinking salt water. But as the plane made the slow turn this time, about the third pass over, they opened the door and pushed out a life raft.
So wait, now, he's drinking contaminated salt water.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was, just by his actions.
Is this fucker still alive?
I have no idea, and I'll get to that part. That's at the end of the story, but so they push out this life raft, and this plane is going as slow as it possibly can. But you knew when that life raft hit the water, it wasn't going to be good for nothing. But we got over to it. And inside it was 4 jerry cans. One of them had developed a leak full of water. So they were about 2.5 gallons each, I think. So we had like 10 gallons, of water.
So how did they know you didn't have any water though?
There was 2 radios in the life raft also, but they already had the water, I guess, because they've done this before out in the middle of the ocean. People usually want water, because they're out of water. Right. I had the plan after setting off the EPIRB to have some tape and tape H2O on the sails, but I couldn't find the tape because Jerry had thrown it overboard.
Boy,
that's what I mean. He was crazy. He was like doing everything negative.
Pretty useless.
And so I radioed them, and they said that, do you want to abandon your vessel? And I gave the radio to Jerry, and I let him talk at this point. He said, yeah, the boat's unsaleable and everything, and on about how the boat was no good, and, you know. And so I never said I would abandon my vessel. Only Jerry Schmidt did. And so what happened next was, let me think, where are we at? The plane went away, and they said that they would send out a ship. It would be there in a couple of days. So they're going to reroute this Navy ship, the USS McCormick, reroute it 600 miles to come and pick us up. So now this is a jet, a Navy ship with all the personnel. We're talking bucks on this rescue, right? I mean, this is big bucks. And so for the next 2 days, Jerry went around and stole every piece of hardware he could off of this expensive stainless steel hardware and everything, because I told him, hey, they're only going to let you take one bag with you off of this boat, because they're going to sink it as soon as you and I leave it. And so, because they can't leave a hazard of navigation floating out there, you know what I mean?
Right.
They must sink it, otherwise they're liable. And so, for 2 days, he went through the boat stealing everything he could. He had this big empty sail bag that he was, and by now there were sails in the water. The boat was a mess, you know. And the only thing I did was put the American flag upside down. And so after 2 days, you could hear it way off in the distance. This boom, 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 and then a quiet rest, you know. But what it was, that the boat was slowing down, and they were just giving little bits of power, you know, but you couldn't see it, but you could hear it, you know, that the thump of the engine in this big ship. And eventually we could see it. And when they got within like 500 yards or something like that, they put this small little double ender in, and they brought over Navy personnel with one Coast Guard liaison officer.
Do you want to?
Now, I'd stayed up the whole night before writing my declarations. I still remember the first paragraph of it. It went like this. Sirs.
Was or anything, because
okay.
I'm listening. Yeah.
The declaration went like this: Sir, it is not my intention to abandon my vessel. Jerry Schmidt does so freely and solely of his own accord. Thank you for your assistance in his matter. Following is a list of my 2 plans how to get this boat to shore. Plan A is to continue sailing without your assistance at all in the manner that I have been trying to go until I reach land, and at that point I will contact the owner. Plan B is, hey, you guys got any fuel or food or water? They loaded that boat up, man. They towed it over with the double ender. They towed it over to the side of the USS McCormick. Now, we had just had a couple of hurricanes blow through on that part of the earth, and the swells were really big, and being side tied or alongside of a big ship like this, when a swell comes through, it's like you're going up and down 3 or 4 stories in a matter of a second. You know, I mean, just wham up there and then wham, you're down just from an easy swell riding through, you know. It's like the big ship wasn't moving, but the swell would move that sailboat, you know. And so I'd never told Jerry that I was gonna do this, and he was mad at me from the whaleboat. I could tell before they took him away. But in the meantime, while I'm alongside this boat, they're bringing down crates of oranges and cans of beans about as big around as a watermelon. You know, I mean, just they're for feeding ship personnel. They're not for a single sailor.
Right.
You know? And then they gave me a lot of dry goods and stuff, but all these oranges, and they filled up the water tanks that I had and everything. And then they gave me.
They saved your lives.
Yeah, well, not our lives, only me, because I was the only one left on board. They put Jerry in the sick bay.
No.
And so, after I was all fueled and provisioned and watered and everything up, I went to start the engine, and the battery was dead.
So you were still stranded. You were still stranded out there.
Yeah, well, I was still, and they said, well, we only have 32 volts here. And I said, well, give it to me for just a second. And I had this generator out of the builds that we brought, luckily, and it wouldn't start. And right before they hooked up the 32 volts to hit the 12 volt system with, which probably could have been a disaster. Right before they were ready to do that, the Coast Guard guy was walking by the generator and he gives it a pull and it goes tung, 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 tung. And everybody on deck that was standing over there looking over the rail starts cheering, going, yeah, all right, because they wanted to go home, you know. But anyways, I got it hooked up to the battery and finally got the engine started. So now I'm on this boat by myself. And they said, oh, you can just
You're
follow
probably better off.
Oh, yeah, I was definitely, because everything turned around. While they were taking Jerry away, I cleaned up the decks and everything, put everything away like it belongs, so the boat didn't look like such a mess. And so after 5 or 10 minutes, that boat was out of sight. There was nothing I could follow or anything, but, you know, I knew which way to go. I had a compass and I went by that. This is my first trip now. You know what I'm saying? And in the process, trying to sail out of this high pressure, the winds changed a little bit because it was a hurricane that had just gone through the area that I went through. There was another one coming too. And it gave me enough wind to sail out of the high pressure where it was a day and a half later or 2 days later when I am laying on the front deck of the boat as the boat is like a thoroughbred chomping at the bit. It was a former racing boat, really nice boat. And it was like she was just like alive and loving life the way she was sailing, you know, and just like a thoroughbred chomping at the bit, wanting to run, but, you know, me not letting her because I wasn't putting that much sail on her. So I'm laying there naked on the front deck and I hear this loud jet noise all of a sudden, and it's right over my head. And here's another one of these smuggler catching boats that is just checking on me. Now, this is 3 airplanes, okay?
That's some money.
And a Navy destroyer, you know, rerouted to, you know, pick up Jerry. And so it was like they go, so you can sail this boat okay? Because Jerry had told him that the boat had lost its keel and it was unsaleable. And I told him I have no problem sailing this vessel on the radio that they give me on the first drop. And they go, oh, well, Captain, you're doing a good job. That was the first time I was called Captain. And that's when I decided, you know what? I got to get a license for doing this shit. But then after they went away, they understood that I was just sailing for the nearest shore, you know, and it was supposed to be, I'm just north of San Diego, but I was going into Mexico, wherever. And for the next 5 days or something like that, I was battling a hurricane that came up the west coast of the Americas. But what it did was it actually blew me in because I was on the edge of it. So it blew me in right towards the coast. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it was like a blessing, man. But you know, I wrote up in my log that, you know, I wrote it up like it was a prize fight. And here's Stella News in the 10th round, and she's still going for it. Hasn't been knocked down yet, even. You know, she's winning this fight. You know things you do when you're by yourself out on the water. But it turns out
that's kind of a horror story, but it's kind of a heartwarming story.
It turns out that the landfall that I made was this little village called Puerto Nueva. Now, we were going to a small marina in California called Newport Marina, not Newport Beach in California, but Newport Marina down by San Diego. So, yeah, I made my original thing. It was just in a different language.
The only thing that really make it a horror story would be like pirates or...
Oh, that would have been fun.
A giant squid or alien.
What I did was when I was off of Puerto Nueva, I took a brief nap and I was woken up by the sound of an outboard right next to my boat. And here's this Mexican guy, and he's got stuff to give to me, and he wants to trade, but I couldn't figure out for what. And he goes, oh, just wait, I'll be back in just a minute. So he goes back ashore and he comes out with this with the top for a CCI 22 ammunition. And he's going, this is what I want. Asking me if I have any 22 ammunition because they can't get it in Mexico. It's illegal. I had to tell him, no, I don't have any. So anyways, after that, I wound up motoring up the coast, and I saw some sights that I never thought were possible. I saw thousands of dolphins in a bay.
Nice.
Just all, moving and, playing with each other. Thousands of them, man. I've never seen that many dolphins in one place.
It's a good story, but it's not a horror story. This is Halloween.
Okay. Well, I didn't, like I said, it's not a horror story, but it's a good story.
I'm just messing with you. It's a good
So
story,
I went into Turtle Bay, Bahia de Tortuga. Bahia de Tortuga. It means Turtle Bay. And that's where there was 7 other yachties that were in there that were hiding from the hurricane that had blown me ashore. And this one guy that used to own West Marine and had sold it was out with his young wife in a really nice sailboat. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's a really expensive one. And he comes over and he goes, how was the crossing? And I looked at him as I'm trying to anchor the boat going, it was hell, And so he goes, I'll be back in a bit. So he came over and he hooked me up with a phone call and stuff to the owner of the boat and started peeling off $100 bills going, here, you need this. You're going to need to get this, and this. Anyways, when it came time for us to all motor up the coast, because there wasn't much wind after the hurricane had blown through, nobody could get their boat started. And guess what? I happen to be a really good mechanic. So I went from boat to boat and got them all started. And we all motored up the coast to where I got in a day behind them because I couldn't stay awake any longer. But
very good.
On the very last bit of the sail, the boat trimmed and was balanced so well that you could just set the sails and she would just keep going on a straight line, depending on how you adjusted the sails. So I'm feeling so good about myself that I come out of the cockpit in the back of the boat and I go up and I climb up the mast onto the boom and I lean back into the sail like I'm sailing the boat, like I'm surfing the boat, That was such a good feeling. No, there was too many boats going into San Diego at that point. But it was like, boy, Lloyd Larson was calling me a saint and everything. And I had a chance to get on Johnny Carson. I didn't want to take it, but
are you shitting me? You had a chance to be on Johnny Carson and you didn't do it.
I did. I didn't want to do it. I was too busy seeing friends and stuff from Southern California. And, it was like, they wrote me up in the newspaper and Johnny Carson heard about it. And then somebody came from his studio and wanted to put me on the show. And I just said, no, I've got too much to do right now because I had to get back to Hawaii. And so Lloyd Larson wound up, instead of paying me $200 and a plane ticket back, I told him we had to renegotiate. I charged him $2,000 to get the boat back. And he was glad to pay it. Wow. So that's my story. That's the first one.
It's a good story, though.
Yeah, it was fun. I still got the newspaper articles about it. But yeah, I was able to see all my old friends and stuff because I'd been in Hawaii already for 7 years or whatever. Anyways.
Well, see, that's I appreciate the story. You know why? Because it's not hearing about the horrors of this shit. The horrors of stalkers.
Well, let me think. I haven't had any horror stories at sea. I've had some close calls, but nothing that I couldn't handle. Anyways. So, Scott, what do you do?
I sit here and do nothing. I'm on disability. I used to work as a machinist where I got hurt. I used to make hole saws and drill bits and tools and stuff. But
cool.
And what I mean by hole saws, I mean saws that are this big around and
I got you.
Big saws, big steel stuff, saws, and welding and stuff. Well,
cool.
I hurt my back one time lifting one, and it kind of fell on me and compressed my discs, so my back's pretty much.
I had the same thing. Scott.
My back is totaled from it.
and I was in a wheelchair for 13 years until over a year ago when I was turned on to this new procedure that they have. It involves the steroid shots at first into your spine, but then they give you this.
Did epidurals and shit, but they weren't willing to go so far as to do surgery on my back. They did surgery on my shoulder and whatnot, but they weren't. They said they didn't know for sure whether they'd fuck me up worse, so they weren't gonna.
Okay,
Weren't gonna
well,
go further than the epidurals.
This procedure is it involves the epidurals at first, and then it kind of sets you up for the ablative shot, which
that was what it was. They said if the epidurals don't help, we're not gonna proceed with surgery.
Well, the ablative shot is what it does. They use electricity to burn the nerve ends off. I mean, they totally make it so you can't feel anything, but you're awake mostly. And it lasts for like a year on me. Well, when the first time I had it done, since I hadn't been out of the chair in like 12 years at that time, I couldn't walk very far, but I could ride my bike, and I went out and rode my bike. The fifth time I rode it, I broke my right leg, which here's the horror part, which made me use my left leg, which had been shattered back in 2009 or something like that. And if I use it, it swells up. Well, I'd kind of forgot about it in all the years I was on the chair. So when I broke my right leg, my left leg had to take all of the work, and it swelled up, got infected, and put me in the hospital for 18 days, and then another month and a half at home IVs. And it was like I lost all of the ability that I had at first after getting that shot. Now, just recently, I have gone in for the shots again. I've had the ablative shot. I am up and around and walking. I can't walk real far because I get tired, but
that's me.
I can ride my bike anywheres. I'm no longer confined to the wheelchair. And if you have a chance, you might want to look into the ablative shot that they have now, because it is amazing the way it works.
Well, my horror story with it is while I was working, and I worked there for like 12 years until I got injured. But while I was working, I would go to college in the evenings for like 4 years. I was taking computer science classes for programming because just for my future. But then I got injured, and not making any money, I couldn't afford to keep going to college, so that kind of put a stall on that shit. So now pretty much all I do is I sit here and I draw pictures and play my guitar.
Well,
I don't know if you've seen.
You have a high school diploma, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Then you can go to college for free. Did you know that?
Well, I'm not going to go back to school.
I did after I got hit by the car that.
I'm not going to go back again. I don't even want to bother.
I'm
more interested in trying to do my artwork. I mean, I'm pretty good at it.
I hear you.
I'm pretty good.
I hear you.
Like I said, I don't know if you've looked at any of my artwork.
No, I haven't. Seen it.
I've got some videos on here you can look at.
What's your medium?
Whatever the fuck I want.
Do you do any airbrush?
I don't have an airbrush now.
It's
mostly handwork.
Yeah,
Pens, pencils,
I can't draw a thing, but if I pick up an airbrush, I can make magic happen. I don't know why, but it seems like open a whole window for art that I've never possessed. As soon as I pick up an airbrush, it's like, wow, man, I made a drawing.
Yeah. Since you're sitting there, I don't know if you can see very well. I'll show you a couple of my pictures so you don't have to go look back at it.
I probably will anyway.
Well, you can watch the process. Here's like one I did with like.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's not a good one. That's not the good one. The good ones I've already gotten rid of. Well, here, let me show you this icon. That icon, I drew this right here. That's Han and Chewie.
All right.
That's all ink. That's from the movie. From a scene in the movie, the latest one, where they first get on on the Millennium Falcon. There's another dragon I drew.
I
This is
am a
done-
dragon too. And I am actually wearing dragon shorts right now from my ex-wife. She was a
Yeah.
seamstress and she made me all these silk shorts.
Here's like my favorite one. I don't know how well you can see it.
Oh, I see the face now. Okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
There's another one here. I got one more, I think. There's another. These are all original drawings of mine.
All right.
The tiger and the dragon.
Yeah, the yin and the yang too.
Yeah, yin and yang. I'm into the dragons. That's what I call my. That's what I call my drawing
What-
stuff is
What year were you
dragons,
born?
dragons and kung fu. I did a portrait of Bruce Lee and I gave that to a friend of mine.
Oh,
Here's
cool.
another dragon. This is one I'm working on right now. It's still not done. I still got to do
I
that.
like that. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah,
What year
that's-
were you born?
66.
66. 64 was the next year of the dragon. I'm 52. So every 12 years, the Chinese New Year is the year of the dragon. I don't know what year it is, what year we're in now, but
But that's
nice
well,
work,
what I
brother.
was trying to do is I had some ideas for comic books.
Uh-huh.
And I was kind of messing around with that here on YouTube, and that's kind of where my targeting started. I had some comic book ideas stolen, and I just pretty much have stopped
I don't blame you.
doing that
I don't blame you.
because with this the BCI and AI and the intellectual property theft, I'm kind of an inventor too in that respect. I've been some ideas that have been taken. It's just I'm done with trying to pursue my ideas because somebody's gonna fucking rip them off. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Yeah, you get frustrated at that point, and it's like, why am I
Like
even bothering?
I was talking about with the photon or light based computer.
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah,
I heard you.
and I'm just kind of done trying to go anywhere with my ideas. I had an idea for pretty much a perpetual motion engine and but I'm not going to talk about that one.
Sure. I don't blame you. You know what? I was watching a thing the other day about this gyroscope on a smaller boat, and they can do it up to, I think, 7,000 ton vessel, but
Uh-huh.
it makes it not rock or anything in
Well,
in rough ocean.
Right.
And I was thinking, man, if you could harness the torque that thing produces, the energy that is just being wasted.
Yeah, the kinetic energy. Yeah.
If you could harness that, I mean, they got torsion bars in cars that reverses the energy. It makes the car ride smooth. But if you could harness that torque out of a gyroscope, man, that seemed like you'd be getting
Kind of
energy
like
both
they
ways
used
out
to
of
make these watches. They used to make watches that ran off kinetic energy.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah,
being
yeah.
on
Self-winding.
your arm.
Self-winding, yeah.
That process would, they'd be able to do something with that. But I don't think they're interested in
Oh no,
making
you're right.
life
right.
cheaper without using fossil fuels and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they
They
can
don't
meter
they
it.
don't want to give us that shit because then
No.
they can't profit off of it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a crazy world we live in, brother.
I never had a watch ran off of fast fossil fuel.
She, my wife, she said, I've never had a watch that ran off of fossil fuels. I don't think they make them. But
Well-
anyway, that's a good story. It's kind of sucks that you didn't get on Johnny Carson though. That
I was just too busy, and I only had
but
a couple of days.
you'd have got to meet Johnny Carson. Well, that's like that would have been a highlight in your life there, man.
Well, one reason that I sailed back on this particular ride was because my father was dying of cancer, and I wanted to see him before he died. And so
I used to think meeting Elon Musk when he used to have the building up here in Burbank, and he offered me a job.
Oh, cool.
And only wanted to pay me $6 an hour. And this was before while he was making the the rail car that he won. They won Pikes Peak that year when they run the Pikes Peak run.
Oh yeah.
And he offered me a job, to come work for him, but he was only going to pay me $6 an hour. And I'm like, dude, I can't drive up here from Long Beach to Burbank for $6 an hour.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I was like, forget that shit.
What did he want you to do for $6 an hour?
He wanted me to make a hydraulic drive. For his battery cars.
Huh.
Starting my watch.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was around 2000. I think it was 1999 or 2000 when that was. And but yeah, well, the reason why I got introduced to him was because the guy that worked for him, I used to do karaoke like every night, and I met him in Dimples bar in Ventura. Me and my wife were there, and we were doing karaoke. And him and his friend that was an optometrist engineer. He was working on some new contact lenses that would help repair eyesight for nearsightedness.
Yeah.
And but we were just talking, and I was telling him about my idea and what I'd done with a little remote control car, and he was like, "Well, I want you to meet my boss." And I, this was before Elon Musk was anybody.
Before he was known.
Yeah, before he was anybody. Okay. This was when he had a building in Burbank Airport, right?
Okay.
That was where he started out making his electric cars at, and that was where I met him at. And I never saw him before or since. But yeah.
Well, there is another sailor that I have met through YouTube, and he came up with the concept of sailing around the planet, circumnavigating the planet, leaving zero carbon footprint. And we tried to get Elon on board. I was actually put in charge of making the proposal to him and stuff.
Right.
And I'm still trying, even since he's opened X, I still drop a line to him every chance I get, asking him if he wants to join our El Cano challenge.
Well, if you ever do drop a line to him, ask him if he remembers meeting the guy that was talking about making the hydraulic drive would give him instant torque.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask him
if he remembers. It would. It definitely would.
And if he remembers Mike wrecking his M36 BMW that night, ran it into a trailer when we were leaving.
Man.
When we were leaving, he just destroyed it.
Oh man!
And he wrecked his car that night. And
oh man!
Yeah.
Whoops.
He might remember that because that's pretty memorable.
Yeah, I would guess. Okay, well, anyways, this guy, the name of his channel is Sailing into Freedom, and he came up with a concept, and we started a Kickstarter campaign, and he made 40% over his total goal, which he came up with $160,000 instead of his original goal. I think was $80,000 or something like that.
For like a startup.
Yeah, to build a new boat and an aluminum boat, and he's going with a Mumby design that they have revamped for this particular thing, and he should have just about now started construction on the boat. I'm not sure if it's going to be in Australia or the Philippines, but I am one of the original in the Kickstarter campaign.
Nice.
And hopefully when he leaves the West Coast, I would like to make that leg of the journey with him from the West Coast and maybe make a stop here in Guam. That's a long leg, man. And hopefully I can get that.
Well, hell, if you do that, you should YouTube that shit.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure he will. That's how he made his bucks, and he's got a really successful channel. I mean, it's kind of fallen off since he doesn't pay that much attention to the YouTube anymore because he's so busy with the boat, and he's not making the YouTube videos, which involve 2 crew members, always female, and he's not messing around with them or anything. He's just having a good time with them, you know.
Right.
And they were sailing all around the Caribbean and stuff, and the channel became really popular, especially among people around my age, because they remember what it was like back when they were doing that, you know. And Peter and I have become pretty good friends. We talk quite a lot on the phone and stuff. That's the guy who has the channel and is building the new boat. And wouldn't it be nice? I even threw the carrot at Elon Musk, dangled the carrot in front of him, so to say. Imagine how nice your ex would look on the side of the hull of a boat that's circumnavigating zero, only using wind power and electricity, you know, by solar panels or whatever, you know. I mean, it's a good plug for him, you know, but he didn't pick it up. So I don't know, maybe he's our competition.
Well, I'm not going to speculate on what goes on that guy's mind.
Yeah. I couldn't keep up.
You know, I kind of have an issue with the Neuralink thing, but having to deal with these fuckers torturing me with BCI, and him being one of the pioneers of it, I don't know about that anymore.
What's BVI?
BCI, brain computer interface.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that at all. That would be insanity to me. I mean, that's almost the mark of the beast if it's not.
Well, they've been using it. They've been using it to torture us, and I don't know. And it, as global as it is, I don't know how I feel about Elon right now.
Well, I'm not going for it. I didn't go for a lot of things that the government has come up with. As a matter of fact, there's one that is very prominent in today's, well, maybe the last couple of years, news that I refused, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Probably don't want to mention it on this channel.
If he were to contact me and say, I'd like to help you prove what they've been doing to you, with my, Neuralink shit, and and let me look at your head and see what these fuckers have been doing and prove what they've been doing and how the terrors of this shit. But he's, he wouldn't be interested in that because that would look bad.
Scott, excuse me for 1 minute. I think my cat needs to go out. Okay.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna put you down for just a minute.
Sure.
Come on, Boo. Outside. Outside. Come here. Outside. Outside. Outside, Boo. Outside. Come on. You gotta go outside. No. No. You gotta go outside, Boo. Well, whether or not she wanted to go out, I put her out. Okay, I'm back.
You're all back. Good. The reason why I say that I don't know if he'd be interested in that is because I'm not trying to make him look bad or anything, but I mean, the way the situation is with gang stalking being global and what they're doing with the mind reading and the V2K harassment, somebody's got to have a shitload of money to be pissing away for these people to be doing this to the people like me and stealing our intellectual property and the impersonation and the deep fakes and all that crap and trying to make us look like scumbags and discredit us.
Yep.
I'm just going to put this out there. I don't know that maybe he doesn't have a hand in it. I'm just saying.
Doesn't have a what?
Doesn't have a hand in it.
A hand in it. Okay.
I'm not saying he does, but I mean, there's not very many people on the planet that have a global network.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And brain computer interface technology at their disposal.
Yeah. And
knowing that I do have ideas, and that's what they've been after. I just you see what I'm driving at.
Sure. Yeah, it's a crazy world, brother. I mean, it's some of the things I see from day to day, just especially in our so-called freedom government, you know, our what is it, representative republic or elected republic, whatever it's called, our form of government that they keep referring to as a democracy, which it's not. It's supposed to be by the people and for the people, but it's no longer that. It's strictly
like I was talking about earlier, the horrors of, you know, AI and BCI
yes.
are you know, being looked at. I mean, when the president of the United States signs an executive order, you know, and talks about, you know, hey, with them doing AI and impersonating me, it's not far-fetched that they could do it to fucking anybody else.
Yeah. Are you hearing any background noise right now from me?
No.
Like, I turned on a fan for the computer.
I don't hear anything.
Okay, good.
Well, I don't know if you've looked at any of my other videos.
This is the first time I've seen you.
You're not hearing any of the background garbled voices, because I think, like I've been saying, the gang stalkers understand that their time is pretty short.
I hope so.
Because they still fuck with me in the dreams, and they still do V2K, but they aren't really aggressive about it. You know what I mean? And Speaking
of dreams, I got a horror story for you. Here's a good one.
Well, there you go. With the horror story.
Here's a horror story for you. Now, I do believe in other beings present here on this planet. People refer to them as demons. People refer to them as aliens. I don't care what you refer to them as. But the typical grays, the little short ones and the tall, thin ones, you know, one night.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Huh?
I've heard of them.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. The stereotype aliens that they have, you know, the big eyes, and one is tall, and the little short ones are their servants or whatever, you know, to take care of their needs and fetch things for them and stuff. But one night, while sleeping, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm having this dream where I am on the top floor of this, obviously a wooden house, and it's got the A-frame ceilings. So at the stairs coming up to the top floor, it's got a landing up there with a window right at the top of the landing, and where the stairs come right up. And then to the right is this long, thin room with a bunch of cots in it. And that's where I'm at.
Hold that thought for a second.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did it seem like a movie?
No.
I mean, like you were living it.
Well, hang on. I'll get to that. Yes, it did. It was real. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I'm laying there like I just woke up, and I'm looking around me, and I'm noticing that I'm in a row of cots, and everybody around me is asleep. And down at the far end of the room is a tall gray person with two little assistants, the little short ones. And I see this, and I start waking up and getting up, and immediately the tall one looks at me with a look of disdain, like he's pissed off at me. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden I jump up out of the bed and I yell as I'm waking up in my front room of my house where I was asleep, "I told you no!" And I look, and I'm in my room, but the dream is gone, and they're gone. And they never came back after that. And I told that to another person. She said, "They won't be back on you." And you know what? They haven't been back on that after. But it was like I was there, and I woke up, and I broke their mind control over me and jumped up. And that's when I was back in my body back at home. Does that make sense? Yeah, it was pretty scary, and I was
That's a horror
pissed off
story. That's a horror story there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just one of those. There was no ending to it. I don't know. They haven't returned, but
that's a fearful story. I mean, I tell you what.
I was more mad than scared.
I don't look forward to little gray guys coming and sticking unusual objects and.
Well, they were working on the skull of this person, like they were working on the brain or something, you know.
Yeah.
That was a good line.
Yeah. My wife said, "What are they doing? Harvesting farts?" Like, you remember the movie Paul with the Nick Frost. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they were doing something else. Like
I agree that, you know, I mean, they have a weird fascination with the rectum.
Probably, I don't know, but that isn't what they were working on the person they were working on. They were working on his head or on his skull. Or
so you're saying you could see, you saw them doing something to someone else?
Yes, they were at the far end of the room, standing at the head of this bed where this guy was laying down, and there was other people in the cots all in a row, from my cot down to them, with a break in the where you could walk into the room. I was right on that first cot. As soon as you walked in the room to the right, if you look to the left, you would have seen them standing there, the two little short ones and the tall one. And when I started to wake up, that gray looked at me like, "Damn it, man, we lost."
Well, Targeted Patton wants to know, did they leave any visible marks on you, Captain?
No, they did not. But I did have a rock removed from the upper part of my spine before this dream. That was, they don't know how it got there. They sent it into the lab, and the lab lost it or whatever. You know, I left a note that I wanted it back, but it was like a little hard.
Never contacted you back, did they?
No, not at all. There was a little hard, like, piece of like what's that black rock called that they make knives out of and stuff? It was like a piece of that.
Damascus.
Yeah, the black rock, amethyst or something like that.
Obsidian.
Obsidian, yeah. And it was about a 16th of an inch by a 16th of an inch, and it looked like it had 4 or 5 sides on it.
Well, I don't know for sure, but there is a doctor that, if you watch any of like the UFO programs, right, that has removed little items just like what you're talking about from several people. Yeah,
that's why I wanted it back.
That's why you wanted it back.
I wanted it back to see if there was any weird properties like that on it, but nothing happened. Anyway,
well, that's an interesting, not necessarily abduction story, but
that had to be surgically removed from in between
encounter
two vertebrae on my back. Man, it was like a 1/3 of an inch in there. I mean, it was like, and I don't know how the heck it got in there.
It had to be put there, or something. I mean, it's not. I mean, calcium or whatever.
No, it was black. It was black.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not a calcium product. It's not. It can't be a biological, organic.
It
material.
was in that spot that you just can't quite reach with either hand, you know, right in that spot in the middle of your back, you know, where you can't quite reach it. And it had been there for years.
That's what this doctor has said. He said that whatever material these small objects are made of, they usually have organic material that adheres to them and grows around them.
And it looked like it had some of my meat growing into it or off of it. Yeah. Like little fibers.
There you go. He said Patton just said it. Dr. Lear. That was his name. I don't know if he's still alive. The doctor that would do that for people, remove objects. As far as other beings or entities, here.
Yes.
It's a compelling argument, and watching let's just examine the issue with the crafts or balloons that have been shot down over the United States here recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I speak particularly about the one that would appear and disappear and appear over here and disappear and appear,
Right.
and they finally were able to shoot it down. I'm not saying that we don't or couldn't have such technology, but no one's jumping, to admit, that it was theirs. Granted, they were easily able to, know that the big one that had the balloons or the bust-sized equipment hanging from the bottom of it was Chinese, but they didn't jump to they didn't jump to take credit.
Well, I mean, talk about echoes of time. What they saw that they pulled out of the water. Now, what did they say back in 47 that it was a weather balloon? I mean, it was almost an exact copy of that picture, them holding the stuff they pulled out of the water and the stuff at Roswell, that shot down the weather. Yeah, it was almost an exact copy
with like
of the whole
with the little beams that had the 3M the 3M like artifacts imprinted on the side of it. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, just they keep me in the dark and feed me a lot of shit like a mushroom.
Like I said, it is a compelling argument that they're really interested in UFO data now, and
attraction or distraction or
all of the encounters that, let's just say in particular, the U.S. Navy has had with these
the Nimitz encounter you're talking about.
And for that matter, Tehran. How the jets encountering them, and when they're pointing at it, all their equipment quits and they turn away, and their shit comes back on, and they can turn back around and they fly toward it again, and all their instruments go haywire. I will just say this: if it isn't from somewhere else, right? Someone on this planet has technologies that they're not being free with.
Yeah. Okay. I've got
like I said, I'm not sitting here saying it's little gray aliens from Zeta Reticuli or wherever.
I do understand that.
These objects exhibit maneuverability, cloaking,
the maneuverability,
intermedium propulsion, so they can do just as much in the air and the water as they can in space.
Sure. The ability of the machine far exceeds any abilities we could withstand.
The maneuverability says that
no humans inside.
A human body cannot withstand more than 10 Gs.
Yeah. I think that's a
You
lot.
can't
But
you can't and that's talking Top Gun pilots, right?
yeah, I'd probably be down
That
around
will
4
pass
or
out.
3.
They'll pass out, and
Yeah.
and anything like more than 11, you will die,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
A 90-degree turn in any kind of craft will splatter you against the cockpit.
Sure. Sure.
So
But then
it's
you got the
anyway.
the tricky pictures, that 3G or no the way that they make things look like they're real when they aren't. What's that ability to make movies and people talk and stuff like that? Like the movie I Pet Goat. Anyways, what I want to leave you with, because I'm going to go pretty quick. I got a question for you.
Okay.
What kind of a human being would defile, foul, and disrespect his Mother Earth and cause so many problems? I mean, fouling their own nest and
A gang stalker.
disrespecting their mother. What was that?
A gang stalker.
Okay, that's a good word for him. But I mean, I can't imagine human beings doing what they're doing to the earth.
Because as I've been, I don't know if, like I said, I don't know how many of my videos you've watched or anybody else that's a target.
First one.
These groups of people, these gang stalkers, have no empathy, no compassion, and
exactly.
They do not care. They don't care what they do to you or your family or any of that.
Well, that's totally a non-human trait.
And like I said earlier tonight, they enjoy inflicting pain.
I can see that. Scott, I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate the time that you gave me on your show.
Well,
I hope you enjoyed my
I've enjoyed talking to you.
I will.
I will. Like I said, I haven't been doing shows like on the regular. I used to do them every Friday night, but I got to the point where I just felt like they were getting to where I've said about all I could say about any of this shit. And,
yeah.
But I'm kind of interested in maybe talking about it again, since my wonderful president has signed an executive order, kind of coinciding with what I've been and other targets have been talking about for years now, and the technology isn't being held under a rock, and people know that these fuckers can read your minds with it, and and manipulate your dreams and talk to you without other people hearing it and torture you. So like I said earlier, the hopelessness that goes along with being targeted is a little alleviated for me at this moment.
Okay.
Because when the FBI is talking about it and our very president is talking about it, it's you understand what I mean.
Yes, sir.
There may be a light at the end of the tunnel and not just a train coming to run you over. If you get what I mean.
If it is a train, I don't think I'll be here in the time that it gets for me to worry about. I'm an old guy,
right.
You know.
I'm old too. I'm going to be 58.
Yeah.
I think this month. No.
Cool.
Since it is now November 1st, around the end of this month. And I have COPD, and COPD is not something that people live through.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
It's not like not like a death sentence where they say you got 6 months or a year. They don't know, but it isn't something that people live through. But I'm hoping before I'm gone that for the rest of the targeted individuals in the world, that they come to some kind of
agreement,
uh,
understanding, or group.
end to the stalking and the
That would be
harassment
nice.
and the
That would be
torture.
nice.
Mainly the torture. I don't. I don't mind the harassment you get, like in YouTube in your channels, the cyber harassment, that shit.
I don't care about that.
But
Yeah.
but the torture while you're sleeping and the physical pain and all those other things that they go along with them using BCI and AI on targets needs to stop.
I can, yeah, I would agree
Like
with
I
that.
said before, I with my research and contacting some of the people I've talked to about, implementing protocols to where you can't use this on someone if they don't consent. And that's what they do. That's the main part of it, is they fuck people over with this shit without their, it doesn't matter that you consent, that you say no, like you're saying you did with
Yeah.
in your dream there. They don't care that you have no desire to be, have this done to you.
Totally agree, sir. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that thought. And
well, thank you, Tom, for coming on.
All right, I will definitely subscribe and
I appreciate your story. That was a very good story. Both stories actually were very good stories.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a good night.
You too.
I'll see you later. Definitely. Bye-bye.
You too. See you. So, yeah, those were good stories. That is really cool that being out in the middle of nowhere, 400 miles from anywhere, and no water, and possibility that you're going to starve to death, that you were saved. That's pretty awesome. And I'm really sad that you didn't go get on Johnny Carson, Tom. I'm just really, that would have been, that's a keeper right there. Anyway, so what's going on, Patton? What are you up to? A documentary by James Clavell that highlighted the 19th and last implant removal that he did before he died. Yeah, so he died after that. Did you see the footage that has just come out that shows what happened to the Malaysia flight, or what? No, I didn't. I didn't see that, the flight that disappeared. I don't know if you got it or not, but I just posted the link for the video, and extremely compelling. Irene was saying something about that earlier last night. I missed it. What happened? Solution. Well, if you're talking about what the solution or whatever, um, I shared a link kind of about well, not necessarily a link. I talked about it the other night, about Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, and the other Five Eyes group. The Five Eyes: Australia, Canada, uh, England, the U.S., the Five Eyes, talking about AI and it has to do with China, dealing with China and espionage, using AI to steal intellectual property and exploit people with it, and companies or whatever. But the main one I was talking about was President Biden signing the executive order about AI and to deal with intellectual property theft and the impersonation they're doing with AI. Like I've mentioned, that I know they're doing to me somewhere, and probably you other targeted individuals. Basically, all I'm talking about is that I've noticed uh, lax in the behavior of the gang stalkers and their aggression. Now, I'm not saying they've stopped doing what they're doing. I'm not saying they aren't still doing V2K. I'm not saying they still aren't messing with my dreams or your dreams or whatever, or trying to cause you physical pain or whatever it is that they're doing to you. But I'm of the opinion that, like I was saying, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train anymore. It's, coming to run you over. There's a little bit of hope, possibly, in the premise that the world is waking up to what horrors are, capable of being done with the mind reading and the dream manipulation and the threats and the harassment that go along with gang stalkers and brain computer interface and AI technology. And that executive order talking about protocols and laws against it. See, that's the word that changes everything for targets. Laws against it. Laws. Well, that's exactly it. Whether or not they're going to admit to the horrors of it or what they're doing with it, like you're saying, they have to let the cat out of the bag. The genie's already out of the bottle, but they were covering it up with the misinformation perps and the victim blaming of targets, and saying that no one would do this to you, this shit doesn't exist, blah blah, all that rhetoric is pretty much out the window now. I mean, when Ari Melber is talking about on MSNBC about the mind reading, and now the FBI is looking into the AI and the intellectual property theft, and Biden is signing an executive order about the impersonation with AI and your voice and your digital clone, and and just what they're able to do with the technology. That's what I'm talking about. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. It's no longer a train. It's a light bathing you in hope. It's not just a train coming to run you over. That's what I mean. Well, right there you say you do not see the link. Well, I for a while I had several people. I had people in here that I had as mods, but I took away that privilege from everyone. Not because I had any problem with everyone, but I had a reason, and I just don't care to go into why. I figure if anybody can, monitor my chat and my channel the way I want to, it's me. But anyway, depending on what the verbiage will say, will determine what it means for us. Yeah. yeah, it's good news either way. Uh, um, because as it has been, um, there's been a veil put over it. That and like I was talking about with the doctor, that I went to the doctor today, and having her even talk to me like a human about it, and that she's received emails about it, and and it's there's a higher probability that you can get assistance, if you get my meaning. I mean, before, if you open your mouth about it, you weren't going to get any kind of receptive uh, conversation out of anyone about it. You were going to get blatant ignorance, or just like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's not like that anymore, it seems. So, and like I said, I've seen a lower energy from the perps. They're not so arrogant with the idea that they're invincible and that nobody cares about what this animal is and what they're doing to us. If that makes any sense. So, well, I've been on here a while. It was nice talking to you, Captain Tom. I appreciate you coming up here and chatting and sharing your stories. So were pretty good stories, and hope to see you again. And for that, I need to make my way to the facilities. And like I said, I've been on here a long time here, 2.5 hours. I think I've done enough for a Halloween stream. Thanks for coming out. And well, oh, you did. Oh, that's interesting. That's kind of creepy too. And I'll leave it at that, and hope to see you the next time I'm on here. And have a good night, and appreciate you coming out. Hope to see you again. Thanks. Good night.